Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. Again, we are going to be going in on another very important topic, and this time we are going to be talking to our young women, our young sisters, especially those that are of marrying age. Right now, young women are kind of stuck in a mass of confusion. Not all, but a lot of our young women are stuck in a mass of confusion, especially those who are trying to live a righteous lifestyle. Okay, I'm going to go on later and talk to young women who are loose. I'm not talking to loose young women right now. This is not for them. Those that some consider thoughts or hood rats or anything of that nature. I'm talking to young women who have their minds turned towards marriage. Okay. Now, the confusion that a lot of young women are faced with is marrying a righteous man and how to make sure that you are doing that. And in doing that, sometimes there are things that are overlooked for a number of different reasons. And so these subjects are sometimes very difficult to deal with or talk about, but very necessary. So as you see from the title, one of those things that I want young women to consider, because it's not just one thing to consider when you are talking about joining someone in marriage. I want to talk about some of the requirements for marriage. And again, as you see from the title, it takes more than just a pecker and a prayer for marriage. You see, a lot of people think that, because he has a sex drive, that should be enough. Or because he has a prayer life, that should be enough. A pecker and a prayer is not enough if you don't have a plan. Let me say that again. A pecker and a prayer is not enough if you don't have a plan. So let me just go ahead and get right into this. Some of you will understand where I'm coming from. Some of you won't. I can't help that. All I know is that when you are talking about entering into a covenant of marriage, if you don't go in right, so many things can go wrong. And if you think that just having a pecker is all that qualifies him as a man, somebody who can produce babies with you, you got another thing coming, because if that man doesn't have a plan with that pecker and those prayers, then you will go nowhere fast. You have to have plans for the future. You have to have a man that is going to pray right alongside you for the things that you need from the Most High. Sex is not enough to sustain a marriage. After you've had all your little fun and you start having babies and the bills start rolling in, that pecker is not going to be enough. Some of your ears are too soft for these subjects, so I suggest you move on if it is. But I like to keep it real, because too many times we are seeing young women who are stuck in that confusion where they're like, he does know the Bible and he is a nice young man and all of this, that, and the other. But without that plan, none of that matters. You have to have that plan, because that plan is going to carry you into the future. And a plan can't just be something that's stuck in your head. You have to make moves toward your goals. And in many cases, it's good to do those things together. Now, I'm not saying that every marriage has to start off that way. That's a good place to start, though, because sometimes you have a marriage where you go into it and you don't really have much. When my husband and I got married, we didn't have much. We both were working. Okay, so at least that was in place. We both had our lives established in terms of, being able to get around. If you don't have a car, how are you going to transport your wife and your kids? If you don't have a job, if you don't have any skills, then you're just a man with a pecker and a prayer. That's it. But if you don't have a plan, if you don't have a source of income, if you don't have any of that, how can you properly provide for your family? Now, there are situations where a young man may have a living situation to where let's say he's a part of a major co-op or some type of community setting or situation where, because I do know of some communities where they are established, where the community is like a working, driving mechanism where they're producing food and livestock and all of the needs of the people that participate in that community. So that's kind of different, because if he's putting his hand in there, essentially he is a working man. He may not get a paycheck, but he may get the room, the board, the hands-on skills, the access to the agricultural produce or livestock that's there, so the food and all of that's taken care of. Now, there are situations like that, but when you don't even have that in place and you're just kind of someone that's just out there hanging about, then you might want to wait on marriage for a bit until you can get yourself better established. And it's not even a good idea to seek a relationship with a young woman until you can get yourself established, because sometimes if you're a young man and you're just kind of hoovering around in that position, a young woman could essentially fall in love and have her mind all wrapped up, tied up, and tangled up, but there's nothing that can be done about it. There's no relationship that can start other than you producing a pecker. And so for you young women, let me address you. For the young women, you get your heart all tied up and tangled up in this, and the young man is not in a position to be able to take care of you or any children, nothing really established as far as being able to provide a life. Not even a plan is in place. There is no talk of future goals or anything. It's all about relationship. If you're going to try to pursue someone in a relationship, it's always best to keep the conversations out of the realm of a relationship and talk about the future, so that you both can know where the other one's mind is. Because if your mind is, okay, let me just throw a few scriptures at her, then I want to tell her about consummating the marriage and, how many babies we want to have and all this kind of stuff like that, and you don't even have the plan in place, all you're doing is stirring up lust in your mind and heart and hers. All you're doing is creating a hotbed of mess. So young women, you have to think realistically too. You can't just put it all on the young man, because bottom line is, when you put yourself in a situation to where you're opening up your heart and you allowing your emotions to begin to flow before there is anything you can do about it, you just stir up feelings in you that shouldn't be bothered until the right moment, the right time. Okay? That is what you need to do. Focus and concentrate on getting your life together before you put all the focus on having a relationship with a man. And when you start investing yourself too soon emotionally in a relationship before you can establish a relationship or even a friendship, that's when you just kind of get yourself in that state of confusion, feeling like I can't be without him, I can't live without him, and all of this stuff, but there is nothing that he can offer you at that moment. How many times have young women gotten themselves emotionally involved and entangled in a young man? They end up consummating a relationship or having some type of sexual contact with one another. A baby comes about, and his life still just kind of drags along, and it just dissolves anyway. But now you have a baby out of this because you didn't think things through. You allowed him to think with his pecker, and you thought with your body parts as well. You cannot allow that to happen, because we've seen the story play out too many times for us to have an excuse. This is not the first time. There are decades of examples to look at and know that this is not working. Young people need to be sat down and coached and talked to and trained and instructed and counseled on how to properly enter into a marriage or a relationship first. But parents are not doing that. You just can't look across the water or look across the way and say, oh, I like her. I think she's pretty. I would like to pursue a relationship with her, and you haven't even gotten all of your ducks in a row. And you as a young lady can't say, well, oh, I think he's a nice fella. He looks handsome, and I love his conversation. I enjoy talking to him. That's not enough. Because what young people don't understand is that you can go into a relationship so fast, so quick, in a hurry, without thinking things through. You land there and you find out you don't want to be there anymore because you didn't think things out. And you're like, oh man, I should have thought this out. We should have planned first. Because the easiest part of a relationship, the easiest part is to lay down together, have babies, please each other sexually. That's the easy stuff. The hard part is to formulate a workable marriage that is going to benefit the whole family, meaning the husband, the wife, and any children that you bring into the world. There's more to it than what you, as adults, can feel or get out of this sexually. Okay? I just wanted to talk about this because I see so many times young women just get so invested too soon into things that they should kind of steer away from things that they shouldn't have on their minds right now. I really think that we as parents have got to start really considering how to direct our children in the right direction. I think sometimes we begin to pull back because we see that that's what society is doing. That is what society is doing. And so we're like, okay, we just need to just back off a little bit and let them do their thing. No, their thing affects you too. Most of the time when your children get out here and make mistakes, whether it's your sons or your daughters, they bring those mistakes right to your doorstep. That's right. They bring those mistakes right to your doorstep. So you owe it to yourself and your children and your grandchildren to properly prepare them for what it is they need to be prepared for, and stop worrying about what the Joneses are doing. Because if the Joneses don't care enough to guide their children into the right direction, so be it. So be it. But again, I feel the need to give direction, not just to my daughters, but those who will listen, because at the end of the day, our children depend on us in so many ways. And we see the dysfunction in black families all over. You have young black girls or young women who have made some horrible choices in their lives, and they're sitting back dealing with the consequences of those choices. And sometimes they went against what their parents taught them or told them. They wanted to go in their own way. They got haughty in their spirit, and they said, well, I'm going to do this anyway. He's fine. Or I like him. Or you can't help who you love. You go off and you marry this person, you form a relationship with them, and things go belly up. And then you are sad with droopy eyes and weeping and tears and all of this other stuff because you did not want to listen. You did not want to listen. I don't care how good and how fine a man is if he does not dot all of his T's and cross all of his I's and do the things that he is supposed to do as a young man before going into that relationship. Then you should back off, hold off. See what's going to happen first. Look, take note, pay attention. Who says that you have to rush into a relationship? Let a relationship build. Let it age like a fine wine before you seal the deal. You see, let it age properly. Get to know each other, learn each other. You just might find that you might be only good friends, but not meant for marriage. Okay? But you also may find that this is the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. And so in doing that, You can spare yourself a lot of heartache and headache by simply taking your time and not rushing into something because somebody has raging hormones. Sometimes it's not always the young man with the raging hormones either. Sometimes young women get that same thing, to where they're just so sexually driven to the point where they can't think straight. They can't think straight, and therefore they too are thinking with the wrong head. You don't want to do that. I just wanted to talk to the young women. And again, this video is not specifically to the what they call the thottish young women, or the what do they call them, hood rat young women. It's not to them, okay? I'm talking about those who are at least trying to have some sort of relationship with the Most High. Okay, that is who I am talking to. And I have another video that I will talk to dealing with those who want to be loose butt. They have a whole other set of circumstances that they invite into their lives when they decide to be that way. A whole set of other circumstances. And sometimes, again, we don't want to talk about these things because we don't want to hurt nobody's feelings and all this other nonsense. But get this. It's better to hurt their feelings by what you say, giving them proper instruction, than to allow life to come and deal them a blow that they can't deal with. Because that's what we see daily. On a daily basis, our young people are going down the wrong path, the wrong road, roads to destruction in many cases. And they are having huge regrets, not minor, not small regrets, but huge, major regrets. Because we were too afraid to say what needed to be said to them. You young women, you have a duty too. Don't just fall for the bait because someone has a pecker and a prayer. That's not enough. And I can't say that enough because we see that too many times. That is not the only qualifier for a husband. You have to have more than that. Okay? And so, and you young women, you have to make sure that you are that good thing that the Bible talks about. You are the prize. Let me say that again. You are the prize. You have brothers who will teach that they are the prize, but the scripture clearly says when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. So you want to make sure that you are that good thing. Okay? And a lot of people have their ideas on what that good thing is. Ideas all over the place. Okay? And I've talked about this before, but there are some women who were meant to be on their back, on their knees, and in the kitchen. Okay? But there are others who go beyond that. They go to where to levels of where the virtuous woman goes. The virtuous woman does all kinds of things. She's just not a homemaker. She's just not somebody who is just so quiet and timid. Who told you that? That is a lie that has been taught by those who have tried to trick the minds of women who refuse to read the Bible for themselves. The virtuous woman is strong. And she knows her business. She sells her goods in the marketplace. She buys land. The scripture says she considers a field and buys it. Field meaning land, acres, whatever. She considers it and she buys it. Now, brothers, they like to say, well, she got to get her husband's permission first. This is because these type of men always feel the need to assert their authority. They don't understand that in a relationship that flows good, of course, the husband and the wife will talk together. She will say, hon, I saw this property that I think might be a good purchase for us. I saw this deal that I think we should go for. And because his heart doth trust in her, because his heart trusts in her, he'll say, okay, sweetheart, I think you are right. I think this is a good purchase for us. But a man who does not have full confidence in his manhood feels the need to say, oh, she had to get her husband's permission first. Oh, my goodness. Young women, you need to know how to determine if a man is alpha and confident in his manhood without having to constantly tell you that he's the man, he's the head, he's the ruler, he's the leader. If he feels the need to constantly tell you that, then I wonder if Yahuwah is truly his head. Because some things are going to fall in place if you are in line with the will of the Father. If that man is in line with the will of the Most High Yah, 9 times out of 10, that woman will be attracted to that. And I don't mean somebody who just throwing scriptures at you, because a lot of women fall into that trap. Oh, he knows the Bible so well, but does he have a relationship with the Most High Yah? The devil quotes scripture. A lot of brothers have lured women in with scriptures, and before you know it, they find themselves the third of 5 wives. Or they find themselves in living situations to where their husband treats them like a child, treat them like children. I saw a post where it seems like some brothers are now trying to promote actually spanking your wife, not as some type of erotic type sex, but some type of punishment for what they deem as bad behavior. And so you want to make sure that you're not going to be one of those silly women laden with sin who falls for those types of traps because he knows the Bible. You better get an understanding on whether or not he has a relationship with the Most High Yah, whether he loves the Most High Yah. To me, it's very easy to determine that. And if you can't tell, then maybe you should back away. Or if you're one of those who just believes it because he says it, you need to pray first. Don't let a strong desire for companionship and love and connection, don't let a strong desire for sexual contact and caressing and all of those things, don't let those strong desires be the ruling thought when you decide to give yourself to a man. Make sure that that plan is in place. Okay? Make sure that relationship with the Most High is in place. Make sure that he is sincere and that he is close and strong in his relationship with the Most High Yah. Not just some religious man that is a brute beast that's creeping to houses and lead captive silly women laden with sins. Now, that silly women doesn't mean just some woman who's giggly and stuff like that. A lot of people, they put their own definitions to these things, and they just imagine some woman who's just always giggling and just laughing and silly and all of that kind of stuff. Silly woman laden with sin could be someone who's quiet and timid, but was not wise in keeping herself for the Most High Yah. She can be someone who dresses the part. She can even cook for her man and do all those things and is just so quiet and timid. But she wasn't wise. That's the difference. She wasn't wise. She ended up marrying a brute beast who treats her like trash, and she's crying all the time. I don't mean this as an insult, sisters, but it's time out for the soft lectures on these things, because too many are entering into these relationships. Some of them go into these relationships knowing that these men are no good. And then after they've sealed the deal, they've had a couple of children, he's treated them a certain way, now they want to break out and they want to seek counsel, then it's too late. When you marry yourself into these situations, sometimes the damage is done. Especially you've brought children into the world, they're being subjected to this mess. So this message is really for those of you who have not ruined your life, who have not become a silly woman laden with sin. Slow down, think about it. He needs more than a pecker and a prayer, but he needs a plan, okay? And he needs things that he has already put into action, because a plan is nothing but a plan if you don't try to put it into action. Is nothing but just thoughts or something you've jotted down on paper. But if there are no moves toward that plan coming into action, you still are left with nothing but a pecker and a prayer. Okay, I am done with this subject. I just wanted to talk to our sisters that are considering marriage. I want you to think about things first. Don't spend so much time concentrating on the relationship aspect of being close and feeling that embrace and all of that kind of stuff. All of that stuff is good, fine and dandy, and it has its place. but think about what is going to hold that relationship together. That is the important part. That right there is the important part. Okay, I think I am done. And so with that, I will say shalom. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel, and also comment, share, like, and subscribe.